Good morning, guys. Whenever you guys are watching it, it's me, the Aeoli Double X Prince. So super early in the morning. Normally at this point, I'm supposed to head over to school, but I just got an email saying that my class got canceled for. So basically, I'm free for a while now. It's like super early in the morning, which I was like, damn it. But you know what? I just decided to do a video. You know what? I got an extra 5 hours before I go to class, so that's great. So I just decided to rank all the Pixar movies. I got a chance to rewatch The Incredibles 2 earlier this week because the movie was incredible to say the least. And it gave me an idea to rank all Pixar movies. I was kind of so there's 20 movies, and this series has done a pretty bumpy road. It even teases that all of these movies are connected, but in a way you just kind of just enjoy them for what they are, because not only did they strictly apply this for kids, but they also found a way to give the kids messages, also give the adults a reason to watch these movies. And I really have enjoyed these movies. Like, people always ask me what my favorite franchise is. It's people predict Star Wars. People think Marvel Cinematic Universe. Heck, some people even think my favorite franchise is Fast and Furious, and I'm not even. I mean, they're great. They're good, fun action movies, but they're not that amazing. Um, but yeah, Pixar is definitely gonna be my favorite, just in the sense that I grew up with Pixar. I grew up with these movies. I loved what they have done, and well, mostly, but yeah, here's my list. Um, so basically ranking from 20 to 1. These are my opinion again. So let's just have it. And plus, I want to announce something a little bit. I might not even do it, but whatever. We'll just see how it goes down. But anyways, let's just get on with the list. Enough rambling. Coming in at number 20, I have Cars 2. It's a terrible movie. It's one of the worst animated movies of all time. You had potential of like making Lightning McQueen, give him a bigger story and a bigger side to making him a better character, but instead they kind of went the route with Mater, making him a spy. It was just ridiculous. And from what my friend told me, they worked years for Toy Story 3. They worked years for a Ratatouille or Up or stuff like that. Like, they busted their butts off to try to make other movies, and this one they just kind of threw in for filler. Like, oh look, we like Pixar, like, oh, we still exist. So I could totally tell that. And it kind of really does make Pixar look better. So yeah, Cars 2 is definitely my least favorite. And for the record, I am not a big fan of Larry the Cable Guy, so you damn right, I hated this movie. It's just one of the worst. At number 19, I have Brave. I used to, like, the first half of the movie was awesome. Like, Brave being this independent woman, and it could have been a big hit out. Sorry. It could have been a big hit. It could have been like the next Mulan, but with arrows or something. It could have been something creative. It could have been something cool. The trailers looked amazing for this movie. And then it was just about a girl who turned her mother into a bear. They try to have a relationship, but it didn't work out. What really hurt this movie is that Wreck-It Ralph came out earlier this year, and that was a much better movie than this. It was just like a generic B movie. In some ways, if this was DreamWorks or, you know, some other animated studio, maybe this movie could have been better. But just the fact that we have Pixar at a level like this, it just really does bum down the movie a lot, and I really didn't like it. I took my sister to watch it. She liked it the first time. She doesn't like it anymore, but I definitely, it's not one of my favorites. Um, Number 18, The Good Dinosaur. Yeah, it's time to make a bunch of people from my high school mad. So, I used to think this movie was good. Not great. It was good enough. I always thought it was good enough. They had like a little short with like a foreign kid watching foreign superheroes, and I was like, that would have been a much better movie than The Good Dinosaur. Plus, I remember I saw the animated short. I saw the trailer to Civil War and The Force Awakens, and I was like, alright, why am I watching this movie? Um, but yeah, I thought the animation with like the characters themselves sucked. Milo and the little kid are okay. I'm not a big fan of Dinosaur himself. Milo, he kind of sucks. Um, but I definitely enjoyed the kid. He was charming, but overall, I just do not like this movie anymore. Simply, well, first of all, I've gotten a lot of hate at school, particularly this one kid that I never liked in high school all my life. He's like, "Oh, you're stupid. The Good Dinosaurs are nine. You only watch superheroes and stuff like that." And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I really do not like this movie at all. This is one of the worst pieces of crap I've ever seen. It's just awful. It really is. It's really boring. The characters are generic. They had the cool T-Rexes, but at the end of the day, they hardly even had them. So, um, so yeah, this is just this is just boring. It sucked. Um, yeah, and I can't even remember the name of the dinosaur. I'm not even googling it. It's taking me forever. But yeah, let's just move on. Number 17, Cars, the original Cars from 2006. This was a bit of a step down for Pixar, considering they had classics on their way, but then they had this movie, which wasn't that great, but I thought it was really, really good. I thought it was pretty enjoyable. Definitely has my favorite theme song of all the Pixar movies, Life is a Highway. One of my favorite songs probably ever. It's just a really catchy song. And while I was annoyed by Mater and some of the stuff really dragged and it was really, really boring at some points, I really dug the story that they were following Lightning McQueen being this arrogant person, turning into how it's like to live in like people struggling, or in this case, cars struggling. But I don't know. I thought that was my take on the movie. I thought it was fine. It wasn't great because there's still a lot of really boring spots. And again, Larry the Cable Guy sucks. Number 16, I have Monsters University. I used to not like this movie just because I had such a big heart for Monsters Inc. And you'll see when I get to that movie. But I think this movie is gonna be remembered as just another generic sequel, but it's actually pretty cool. Basically, how freaking what's his face uh eh, blanking out on names. I'm super tired. It's like what, 2-3 o'clock in the morning. Basically Mike Wazowski and James Sullivan. How did I forget those names? And Randall, they all meet. Basically showing how they all meet, which, you know, it gets tiresome at some points because some movies do it a lot. Solo Star Wars Story, I'm looking at you. But I thought it was fine. It was pretty cool. And it's kind of nice to see it now, considering that I'm currently in college. So it's nice to see what it's like to see that kind of world. So I really dug this movie, and it was a fine movie now. I definitely didn't like it the first time I saw it, but I tend to enjoy it a little bit more now. Number 15, Cars 3. Now, a lot of people hate this movie. I thought it was good. I thought it was pretty good. It's my favorite out of the Cars movies. Cars 3. Definitely one of the more enjoyable ones. Not as rewatchable, I'll say that, but I enjoyed. The trailer definitely hooked me when they had Lightning McQueen just break. It looked like a Zack Snyder film. It was just a really cool. I kind of wish they had more of that in this movie, but it was cool just seeing, just one last ride, actual one last ride, Vin Diesel. Even though he's not in this movie, and best part about it, Mater is done. He was hardly even in this movie. He was like in the movie for like a total of 5 minutes, if you even want to say that. But yeah, I definitely think this is a solid movie. Not a great movie, but it's really enjoyable. I always debate whether this Cars 3 or the original Cars is better, but again, while they are a similar movie, I really do not like Mater, so I was pretty happy he was like gone for most of it. So I really dug this one a lot more. Number 14, A Bug's Life. Yes, this is probably the most underrated movie, considering that Ants came out the same year and it lost to that movie. But I really, really enjoyed this movie a lot, because it was just basically about a bunch of ants getting picked on by grasshoppers. Um, and they finally stand up to themselves when they find, a circus act that they all thought were warriors, but turns out they're not. The characters are charming. Everybody's funny. If you go to the California Adventures, it really does make you appreciate bugs more, even though they annoy the crap out of me sometimes. But I really think that this was a pretty enjoyable movie, and I don't know, it was just really charming. It's very underrated. No one ever talks about this movie, which sucks because this is definitely one of their second Pixar movie, but while it wasn't as spectacular as Toy Story, it was still a really fun movie. Coming in at number 13, Finding Dory. Yes, another sequel. Finding Dory is a movie people already forgot about. First of all, I wasn't even nominated for Best Picture. It wasn't nominated. It was like Zootopia, Kubo, Moana, and two other independent films. My Life as a Zucchini, which is a really good movie. You should definitely check it out. But Finding Dory just kind of like flew out of the shadow, and a lot of people started saying that the movie sucked because it was too similar to Finding Nemo. And while it was, I thought it was fun. I really enjoyed it. It was pretty cool to finally see the story of Dory. Like, where was she this whole time? And honestly, because of that plot, I thought it was the best part of the whole movie. Marlin and Nemo are kind of like meh for me, which is kind of weird considering they're supposed to be family. And then we started to realize that they don't have that great of a chemistry, the two, but it was still good. And some of the characters I wasn't a big fan of, particularly the male sea shark or whatever, the one who could do this with his head. I wasn't a big fan of it. The dolphin, I want to say, I forgot, but the one that could do this, because they exaggerated with that, and I just didn't dug it as much. So, but other than that, it was still pretty charming. The squid was definitely one of my favorites. Hank, I want to say his name was. I don't know, but anyways, yeah, definitely one of my new favorite characters in the series. Number 12, the most recent one, The Incredibles 2. Yes, the long-awaited sequel. Now, saying that this is number 12, it really does show you how many great Pixar movies we've had over the past years. Definitely the long-awaited sequel. It definitely was better. It did. The reason why it took so long is because Brad Bird actually wanted a good story, not just a throwaway sequel. So the wait was worth it. We had a good connection. Elastigirl was fine. Some characters weren't maybe as the best. People complained that the villain was too predictable. Well, yes. At least I got that villain's story. Some of the new characters, like the new superheroes, they look too corny and cartoonish, and they were kind of lame. But the real charm was Bob and the kids. That was definitely the best part for me in this movie, and it was just really charming. And it's still great to see that the Incredibles have better stories, and I definitely can't wait if they have a third movie. Number 11, Ratatouille. A lot of people hate this movie. I'm really, really surprised by another Brad Bird movie. And yeah, while it is one of Brad Bird's most underrated films, it's definitely one of my favorites for sure. Because I don't know, it was just really good just seeing a rat. Normally something that you wouldn't expect be on a kitchen. He's cooking. He has a charm. Yet I like the side of the family, like not trusting humans, which makes sense because it's really a good connection between humans and animals, and just that charm of it. I'll say this: the main character not Remy. Damn it, I keep forgetting the name. The main kid. The main kid, he controls his head with he was always back and forth with me. He was too much of a goofball. Corlett was definitely a better chef, but it made sense to make the story about the boy and the rat, which they definitely had good chemistry. But put that boy alone, he's really, really, really pathetic. But other than that, it's still charming. It's still fun. I still have kicks out of it, and it's definitely one of my favorites to watch. Number 10, we're on to the top 10. 10 is a movie that I actually didn't like at first. Number 10 is Up. The opening of this movie is some of the saddest stuff ever. Basically, you see the whole story about this old man. his life with his wife. They can't have kids, but then they try to move, and it was just a really good just a good 5 to 10 minutes of just charm, and that could have been the movie alone. But we had more than that, which I wasn't a big fan of as much. But the more and more I think about it, the more I realize how much fun it is, how charming it is. This kid that he's with is really charming. Definitely, the little boy is really charming. The Stretch, I want to say, but he was definitely a funny part. Doug was great, despite the whole talking dogs was ridiculous. I wasn't a big fan of the villain. I believe he was voiced by Christopher Plummer. But yeah, I wasn't a big fan of him for sure. The villain was kind of too much for me, but I really, really enjoyed this movie. It definitely has a charm. It just has the look. It's basically an old man wanting what he wanted for his wife, but then realizing that he's already given everything he could, and now it's just up for him to just live life. And the more and more I talk about it, the better and better it gets for me. And I definitely think this is definitely one of Pixar's most creative and fun and just all out amazing movie. Number 9 is Inside Out. Inside Out was a movie that I thought was amazing. One of the best Pixar movies. The only reason why I thought it was the best Pixar movie and one of the best 10 out of 10's greatest animated movie of all time kind of thing was because I was really desperate for a fantastic Pixar movie, which we haven't gotten since Toy Story 3 at this point. But rewatching it, it's not that rewatchable. It's probably because I have a bigger heart for the next movies that I'm going to talk about, but it's still definitely one of the charming ones. Amy Schumer, or not Amy Schumer, hell no. Amy Poehler, yes, that's a better Amy actress, but Amy Poehler was fantastic as Joy. Definitely got the perfect casting for these. Like, the emotions themselves were really creative. They're really cool, and they had the perfect voice. Like, even Mindy Kaling, who I'm not even a big fan of, was fine as discussed. Maybe could have put somebody else, but that's definitely not it. Fear, Bill Hader. I always love Bill Hader. Phyllis Smith as Sadness, perfect. Plus, the character kind of looks like her. And my favorite one's probably usually going to be Lewis Black. But it was really cool what they did, showing how people think, and just like, it was just genius writing. It's one of the smartest movies I've seen, and it's definitely one of the best for me. But number 8 is the beginning of probably one of the greatest trilogies of all time. But number 8 is Toy Story 2. Yes, the first Toy Story movie I'm going to talk about. Basically, a guy who sells toys, Al's Toy Shop, steals Woody after, he saves Whiskey from a yard sale. Then the other toys are here to save him, which was great. The biggest highlight for me was Jessie's sideline. That story of her losing the person that owned her was just so sad and so devastating. The music definitely helped making that moment feel for you. And I thought this was just one of the best. Definitely the weakest Toy Story, just because, I mean, honestly, you could say any of the Toy Story films is the best one, and you wouldn't be wrong. Like, yes, everybody has a reason for loving it. Hell, at one point this was like my number 3 favorite Pixar movie, but I'm even shocked it's this low. But I really still think this is one of the best. It definitely introduced new characters and showed more charm to the characters. We had some cool extra characters, like we had 2 Buzz Lightyears, which I'm always a big fan of. Buzz Lightyear's one of my favorite characters of all time. We have Zurg. Heck yeah, that was one of my favorites. They even teased The Empire Strikes Back. No, Buzz, I am your father. No, like, that was just awesome. I loved it. It was pretty funny. I just love this movie. It's just so much fun. While the villain was kind of okay, I still liked him. He had his reasoning for being evil, so I'll let that slide. And the biggest highlight for me is that this movie was originally going to go straight to DVD, but they realized how good it was that they had to call it and say like, "Yo, we gotta put this on theaters. This movie is fantastic." So that's a big props for them. Number 7, I gotta say it, Wally. Wally. Wally's one of my favorite silent films, or the closest thing I'll get to an awesome silent film, because there's really no dialogue. It's just robots who feel emotion. Basically, you have Wally. This whole time he's cleaning this planet, but he's abandoned because the other robots are gone. The humans are gone. There's nothing. There's no reason to be on Earth. And basically, all the humans have been gone for like years, and it's just kind of sad because it definitely shows what the world could be if we don't take care of it. And it's definitely one of my favorite ones to watch. The charm with Wally and Eve was great. And I really like that they fleshed out, what humans could be like if they don't take care of themselves, what humans could be like if they just sit around and do nothing about it. And that ending when they show the kids how to garden was one of my favorite scenes. And, it's going to influence a lot of people who grew up with this movie, because then they realize, wow, we really got to step our game up for our kids. And I think this was one of their best, for sure. I mean, all of these are fantastic from like, I want to say from 14 to 1 is like a masterpiece for me. But 7 is, for Wally, that's insane. 7, I even want to put this at 6 if I can, but I couldn't just quite. But number 6 is, number 6 for me is Toy Story, the original, the one that started it all. A lot of people say the one that started it all and they automatically think it's the best. Not exactly. This one definitely, the only problem I'll give it is that the animation is a bit outdated, but it's still really good. We had Tim Allen as Woody. Tim Allen as Buzz Lightyear, and Woody as Tom Hanks. Basically, Buzz being the new toy, the new favorite of the group. And Woody gets jealous, but his jealousy causes both of them to get lost, and they're trying to find a way home. But then they're to the neighbor, the evil Sid, I should say. While Andy realizes that he lost his favorite toys. And it's just really cool. I definitely like the interactions with Buzz and Woody. It definitely influenced Secret Life of Pets, which was kind of a bad idea. But I really thought this was a really good movie. It's definitely one of my favorites. It was just cool seeing all these toys come to life, and it was shocking because usually whenever toys come to life, like Chucky, that would scare kids. But no, people were loving it. Kids were loving it, and it's one of the biggest charms about it. It's definitely a reason why people go back and watch Toy Story. It's just a really, really good movie. But now we move on to the top 5. Number 5 for me, Coco. I wanted to put this at number 1 because of how much I can relate to it as a Mexican kid relating to it. It was just, I just loved it. It teared me up. I loved it. It's definitely one of the best movies in recent memories. Like, this movie was strictly for us, the Latinos, while showing other people from other cultures about what our culture is. The only problem that people didn't go see it, but I don't blame them, because they set up a stupid 30-minute, 20-minute Frozen short, but eventually it got cut down. But I really did wish people went out of their way to go see it, like, despite, the whole Frozen shenanigans, which, screw them for doing that. But yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. Coco is definitely one of my favorites. It's so relatable. Some of the songs that I have on my phone is just how good it was. Remember Me is just a beautiful song. It definitely deserved the Oscar. Even though I would have, if they gave it to The Greatest Showman, I would understand. But I definitely think it was really nice that they gave it to Coco, because now we could, people talk about Black Lives Matter, Asian Lives Matter. We never talk about Mexicans, and it was really good to see it. And that's not me being like, oh, well, how come they never talk about Mexicans? It's just basically we're taking little steps, is what I'm saying. And this is definitely a small step that could eventually turn into an even bigger step. So kudos for that. Number 4, The Incredibles. Yes, The Incredibles was indeed incredible. The original Incredibles is definitely still one of the best. They had a perfect villain syndrome. They had a good story of how the Bob wants to be a superhero again, but they're illegal because of all these shenanigans, which we could say influence some of the newer movies that we've gotten these days, like Captain America: Civil War, you could say. Um, but it was just really good how he realizes it's more important for family. And overall, you just had some great characters. Frozone, Samuel L. Jackson, Edna Mode was voiced by Brad Bird, the director. And the kids were still charming. The mom was still great. She was still hot. Obviously Jack was more in Incredibles 2, but definitely enjoyed the little that we got out of him. I loved it. It was just great. It definitely was the better Fantastic Four film we'll ever get, even though, I like how people say it's the best Fantastic Four movie, but there's 5 of them. But in reality, it really is the best Fantastic Four movie in the sense of getting a real family, being there for each other, and being charming and just being great. If we could actually get the Fantastic Four and the MCU to do stuff like this, then yeah, that could have been great. It obviously won't be as great as this because this is going to go down as one of the greatest movies of all time. Not just animated movies, but movies of all time. This is just a really, really good movie. Number 3, Toy Story 3. Yes. The reason why I always say that Toy Story 3 is the best because this is the one where they fleshed out Andy. We grew up with Andy. We basically are Andy with all these toys. It's basically his story for the first half, and then slowly we have like this whole story about where all these other characters are coming from. Lotso, his side story of how he became evil and how he felt he's been replaced, and how it's good to live your life as in a preschool where kids grow up to love you forever, but that can be happening with all these crazy shenanigans. So while it is a tad bit ridiculous, though when you watch it you understand how charming it is. And I don't know, I just really dug it. I think it's one of the best. I really think this is the best culmination of any trilogy ever. While they are making a Toy Story 4 next year, I think this wrapped up Andy's story. I'm cool with them probably doing 4, 5, 6 if they're strictly using the girl at the end. Bonnie, I think her name was. That was just great. And it was just great seeing how Andy gave up Woody. It was just one of my favorite scenes, and I really loved it. It's one of the best, for sure, and it's the best culmination. Again, the best culmination to any trilogy. Maybe Lord of the Rings comes close, Planet of the Apes, maybe, but Toy Story 3 is definitely the one that sticks out to me the most. Number 2, Finding Nemo. Yes, Finding Nemo. Finding Nemo was originally going to be my number 1, but Finding Nemo just didn't quite make it because of how charming my number 1 is. But Finding Nemo was so great. We had basically this father losing his son after already losing his wife. Or Pixar is popular for like making things dark at the beginning, and this is probably the start of it. But yeah, Nemo's in a group with, he's basically at a dentist this whole time while Marlin finds this lady named Doran, voiced by Ellen DeGeneres, probably the best Pixar casting ever. Yeah, I thought this was just one of the, again, I'm always going to say one of their best because Pixar has been just really that darn good. I was scared of this movie at first because the poster was Bruce the shark. And, at the time I was scared of Jaws, the movie. So I was scared of sharks. But yeah, I really dug it. Just the adventure, the ocean looks beautiful. The score is awesome. Just the whole story in general is definitely one of my favorites, but not my favorite. It's so close, number 2. But my number 1, and it's always gonna be number 1 no matter what. No matter how many times I think Finding Nemo might be just as perfect and just as charming. My number 1 is always gonna be Monsters Inc. People say Monsters Inc. Really? I could see it in a top 5, but I can't see it being number 1 itself. Here's why it's my number 1. And if you guys saw a video of my 10 favorite movies of all time, this made the cut. This is the first movie I ever saw in theaters. It has such a big nostalgia for me. Basically, showing you that monsters aren't scary. What if, and secretly, they're scared of you? The twist is basically the best of both worlds: the humans and the monsters. And this girl, Boo, was so charming. I really loved that character. One of my favorite scenes in any movies was Sully and Boo saying goodbye to each other, hugging. It was just so beautiful, and I really loved it. And hell, it tears me up every time I mention it, just because of how nicely it is. But it was just really good. And Mike Wazowski, one of my favorite characters of all time, just bringing the charm, bringing the joy, bringing the funniness. Celia was also great, despite being kind of the weaker love interest. But Randall, one of the funnier, cooler villains. Henry J. Waternose, I think it was. He was alright. Not the best. My favorite one is probably gonna have to be that one lady. I keep forgetting her name, but she's popular for having that really awkward voice. Mag Wazowski. Like, I have a friend who knows how to do that voice perfect. But yeah, this is definitely my favorite for sure. That's my list. It's a long video. I hope you guys enjoy it. Tell me what your favorite Pixar movies are. Something I was gonna bring up originally this year. I was gonna review all the Pixar movies leading up to Incredibles 2, but because of school, I couldn't do it. But I think it makes sense to do it next year with Toy Story 4 coming out, because we're starting from Toy Story and we're ending at Toy Story 4. So I think it's a culmination of everything Pixar has done and how it's passing it on to new generation while doing new things. Because a lot of people are saying they're not excited for Toy Story 4, and I get it. I personally think, now saying it out loud, I think it's gonna be so good, and who knows what will happen. But I really think Pixar is definitely stepping up. I kind of wish they step away from the sequels and focus on new creative ideas like Coco and Inside Out. But I'm still happy that we're getting these sequels. I'm still happy that Pixar's doing better. Thankfully, they recovered since that debacle that was Cars 2. But I'm definitely digging it. It's definitely one of my favorite franchises of all time. What are your favorite Pixar movies? Let me know down below. It's me, the ALE Prince. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Still have plenty of time, and until then, I'm out.